A very good morning to you all. Welcome to Sunrise Daily. This lovely morning, I'm Chamberlain Uso.
It's Hump Day. Good morning and welcome. I'm Kayla Megwa.
Well, much as we do have a lovely weather here in the capital city, 28 degrees centigrade. It's equally a lovely scenery. If you take a look at the Durham Hills in Ondo State, it's located in the southwestern part of the country. Lovely landscape, several palaces, also highlighting all of that. I think you get to hear that 914.4 meters high.
That's really significant. If I'm looking at the steps, it takes about 660 steps to reach the summit. That's where, so if you're a visitor, I've never been here. If you're a visitor, you have to climb all of those steps. That's a workout.
Maybe hikers will love it.
I'm a hiker too. I like these, but I think, but they say there are 5 resting spots. So you get to rest. And I think you can take snacks with you. So yes, right there from Ondo State, our skyline is beautiful. Chamberlain, look at that. Look at that. And then there's communities at the bottom of that hill, which means that there's a system of life going on there. People will probably be making a lot of livelihood from this. The tourism aspect of this, though, is one that I am thinking about right now. How much tourism is going on there? How much money are they making from that? Because this is a beautiful landscape. It's wide, it's got people, and this is a place I would love to visit.
All right, so not a bad scenery, but you know what? There's a lot. That went on yesterday. So we will take you to the papers right now, so we can highlight all of what is going on right now. All right, let's start with some of the dailies here this morning. Nigerian Tribune, with PH Refinery's revival, Tinubu set Warri Kaduna plans target for NNPC. That's how they lead here today. Well, Daily Independent, elated Tinubu mandates NNPCL to revive Warri Kaduna refineries. That's what you also see right there on the front page. The Guardian newspaper reports cautious optimism over cheaper fuel as PH Refinery creates rivalry. Yeah. Nigerian News Direct, applause, controversies, greets Port Harcourt Refinery resumption. Blueprints newspaper, return of Port Harcourt Refinery, new era of energy independence, ascribed to Kyari. This Nigeria, Nigerians excited as Port Harcourt Refinery roars to life. The paper reports here today, and it says trucks lift refined crude, kerosene amid hope, fuel price may crash. Tinubu orders NNPCL on reactivation of Warri Kaduna refineries. And then, if you have a look at New Telegraph, it's a different headline. CUPP dismisses 3.46% GDP growth, slams NBS. Says FG guilty of statistical manipulation to create false economic growth. The other writer says, report not true reflection of current realities, and that is according to Nasima, urges steps to address inflation, rising taxation, regulatory barriers. The paper reports this morning here today. Business Day, CBN stays hawkish as food, petrol prices remain high. And that's it with some of the papers this morning. All right, welcome back to Sunrise Today. Yes, indeed, as you've seen, the daily's highlights the activity that went down yesterday with the Port Harcourt Refinery. Well, we've got Mr. Dapo Shegun here with us. He's the Chief Financial Officer for NNPC Limited. Good morning. Thank you for coming on today.
Thank you very much.
Well, yes, congratulations are in order for at least activities going on yesterday, as much as the country knows. But go ahead and talk to us about some of these things. I know that a lot of work went into all of this, but then you also saw some of the controversies that went on yesterday about the true state of what went on. Much later, we saw the statements as well explaining certain scenarios. So if you just give us a little bit of a background, how we got here.
This journey started a few years ago for the rehabilitation of the Port Harcourt refinery. And as you know, there are two refineries in Port Harcourt. There's a 60,000 barrels a day refinery, which is the older one, and a 150,000 barrels a day refinery, which is newer. The strategy was to pick the low-hanging fruit, which is the smaller refinery, and try to bring it back on stream earlier than the much larger 150,000 barrels a day refinery, and that's what we've done. So basically, the 60,000 barrels per day refinery, which we call the old refinery, is back on stream. It's working at 70% capacity, and it's producing a series of products, including naphtha, which we blend into PMS. All of the products are on spec, and the regulator was there yesterday to witness this.
Okay, so at the moment, because much of the statement is out there, but just for you to explain as well, breaking it down, we're blending, not refining, are we?
When you say refining, there are stages of refining. The primary stage is the crude distillation unit. That unit basically produces what we call middle distillates. So no CDU produces PMS in the form that's filled into vehicles. So that's the first unit, and that's the unit that we have up and running in the whole refinery. Now, it produces a product called naphtha, and that naphtha is blended with crack C5 to give gasoline. So it's a process that happens in all refineries. No refinery CDU produces PMS for vehicular consumption. So it is the process. It is the standard process in refineries worldwide. Now, there are secondary units now that will enhance, that can enhance the PMS yield of a refinery, but that process is the same with any other refinery currently producing PMS in Nigeria, I assure you.
So are we not buying what is crack C5 of naphtha, and then we blend it to come up with diesel? Because we're not...
No, diesel is a middle distillate, so you get diesel straight from the CDU.
Okay, which is in the old refinery.
You get, well, I said every CDU produces middle distillates.
Okay.
Diesel is a middle distillate, just like naphtha. So you get diesel, you get naphtha, you get DPK straight from the CDU. So PMS requires a secondary process. It does not come. You don't get PMS from the primary unit.
But we can't get it from the old refinery. It has to be from the new one when it comes on stream, is it?
Well, the second process that will enhance your PMS yield is going to occur in the new refinery.
Okay, so at the moment, the old refinery cannot give us PMS.
The whole refinery is a CDU.
Okay.
No CDU will give you PMS. PMS is a secondary product. It's not a primary product of a CDU, of a refinery.
Okay. So at least from the layman's terms, so they can understand it, this old refinery cannot produce or refine PMS.
That's not the way it is. You've got, when you say refine, what does that mean?
And I think that's what the question is really when you're looking at the Nigerian people right now. I want us to be able to talk to people, because that's where the controversy is coming from. They need to understand what blending is. They need to understand what refining is, and the timelines as well. You know, so those are some of the questions that people have, and if you could just help us understand what that means, so that the people can understand what's going on.
So all of the activities that go on in a refinery is called refining. When you refine, simple English, you're enhancing the value of the product. Whether you refine by running it through the CDU, whether you refine by running it thereafter blending, whether you refine by taking it through the CRU, you are improving the quality of the product. That's what refining means. So it would be mischievous to say, are we refining, are we blending? Refining, so the product called naphtha, which you can go straight from gasoline, is not at the level that you can put it into the vehicles we run today.
Okay.
But you can put it into the whole carburetor vehicles. They would run on that product.
Yeah.
But the vehicles we run today need a finer product, which we now blend the crack C5 in the straight run gasoline to produce the PMS that is used by the vehicles we have today.
Okay, so when we look at the Port Harcourt refinery, just walk us through the process of what is actually going on. Crude is being refined in whatever definition of what refining means. Just walk us through that process and the timeline as well.
What do you mean by the timeline?
So for some people who have been criticizing the situation online, they're like, wait, when did the refining happen that we're picking up products almost, we're just told that the products are ready. When did the refining happen? Just so they can understand how this works.
Yeah, it's important to understand that critics would always say what they want to say. We're focused on what we have to deliver. If we're delivering it, we're fine with that. We can live with critics. We don't have a problem with that. This refinery actually came on stream a couple of months back. We fired it. And with every process plant, starting the process plant up can take multiple iterations. It's basically a column. It's like a kettle. You put crude in it, boil it, and so it goes up to almost 400 degrees. So you run the crude through it. You start heating it up like your oven. It's at some particular temperature that it begins to boil the crude, and the products would rise and be collected. Now, what happened a couple of months ago? We started it. We were increasing the temperature as you'd always do. We found that there was a problem, and we brought it down. So we've done that over and over again. You don't start up and just leave it running. You start up and watch it. We're talking very high temperatures. Anything can happen to the materials that you're heating up. And if you notice anything, you notice a crack somewhere or whatever it is, you stop it, you bring it back down, and then fix whatever it is and start again. So that's what we've done over the past 2 months. So when you say we just started and when did the refining happen? Refining happens in an instant. Once you get to that temperature where the crude is boiled and the products come out, that's the refining. So it's not like it has to take 10 days for you to refine. No, it's a process plant. Put in the crude, boil it, and the products come out. That's basically what happens. So it's not a situation of when did we start and when did the products come out.
So this 1.8 million barrels, I mean, I know
barrels.
What's the capacity? Sorry.
60,000 barrels a day.
Yeah, so this is like just going to serve that locality, Port Harcourt, isn't it?
Well, it all depends on what the consumption in the area is. We know what the volumes are. It should serve that locality, and it may extend a little beyond that locality, but we know what the volumes are. We have 1.4 million liters of PMS coming out of the plant. We have 1.5 million liters of AGO, which definitely will go beyond the immediate Port Harcourt area. Consumption of AGO is not as high as consumption of PMS. And then we have LPFO as well.
Okay, so what date is the new one? Because I thought I heard it's not going to
I'm not going to give you dates. I'm not going to be
no timeline.
I'm not going to be pulled into that game. See, it's good to be fair, and everyone comes up bashing NNPC here and there, and I wonder. I've been in NNPC for 8 years. Before then, I was with Chevron for 25 years. We demarket our own very company, a company owned by all of us, and then you say the company is not performing, the company is doing this, the company is doing that.
No, the background
hold on, because I need to talk about this.
Yeah, sure.
How do we attract the best people to come and work for our companies when we keep demarketing it? I've worked in NNPC for 8 years, and before then, like I said, I worked with Chevron for 25 years across the world. So it's a situation I see that actually saddens me. NNPC is moved from a corporation of governments to a limited liability company. NNPC, by the PIA, should be looking to do an IPO. Every Nigerian is an investor in NNPC because the NNPC is currently owned by the Ministry of Finance Incorporated and the Ministry of Petroleum Incorporated. Do you take your own company and start to demarket it? What does that do for you?
So the background is this is not the marketing. Where I was driving at is this. Now, we have this old refinery.
Yeah.
Is on stream. And then the new refinery, new Port Harcourt refinery, is going to come on stream. So I was leading to ask, now, with the combined effect of both refineries, when they do start functioning optimally, right, what will be the comparative advantage for Nigerians, considering Dangote Refinery is also there, producing millions of barrels? That's the ultimate. That's where I'm headed.
Okay, thank you, because the dates debacle has been very distracting.
I'm not focused on the dates.
I just want us to go into that, and that's the issue for me. The Dangote Refinery is in Lagos, so this is all about proximity. It's all about proximity. Dangote Refinery refines the same crude that we refine, which costs about 800 naira per liter. For the crude alone, unrefined, unprocessed. So Dangote Refinery refines in Lagos, we refine in Port Harcourt. The advantage we have is the advantage of proximity to the market, to the Port Harcourt market. So there really isn't any issue with that. And for all, basically we all want Nigeria to continue to build on being a net exporter of petroleum products. So Dangote is closer to is on the coast like Port Harcourt. Mm-hmm. Dangote can export. Port Harcourt Refinery can export. The ultimate thing is to have more production locally than we can consume.
So is this going to affect, and in what way, the price of the product?
So this pricing conversation has been an interesting one. What are the components of the price? I just told you that the crude unrefined is 800 naira per liter. A barrel of crude is about $80, give or take. Oh. You have 159 liters in a barrel of crude. Let's approximate that to 160 liters. That gives you 50 cents per liter. At 1,600 naira to the dollar, that's 800 naira. So the crude itself, unrefined, is 800 naira.
Okay.
Then you talk about the refiner's margin. The refiner has to make some money, has costs, has to fire the plants, has to fuel the plants, has to run the plant, and has all of these overheads to pay for. So when you layer that on it, then you move it on to the wholesaler. It's transported. whether by vessel or by trucks, whatever. So the transporter also has his margin. The wholesaler has his margin. The retailer has his margin. There's also costs for the regulators. There's statutory fees to be paid. So when you look at all of that, what will the Port Harcourt refinery do differently than what Dangote refinery, for example, is doing today? It's closer to the people in Port Harcourt. It will cost, if it costs X amount to transport the PMS from Lagos, where Dangote refinery is located, to Port Harcourt, that's where the savings will come. But that is very marginal. The cost of transportation is very marginal in the cost build-up of PMS.
So, but at the end of the day, Port Harcourt, Warri, BUA, if all of them are operational, they have to think about, how do I make sure the customers come to me to buy?
Absolutely.
So that shouldn't we expect at least some sort of variation in those prices?
I've just said to you that there will be, but they are marginal. They're marginal because the main cost is the crude. There's nothing you can do with the crude. Crude already is 800 naira per liter, unprocessed. So where will the savings come from?
I mean, it's a very interesting dynamic that we have meeting about 2.8% of the local demand for PMS in the country. What should we be looking out for? I mean, the Port Harcourt refinery is going to come on board. It's going to come on board. We kept hearing it for a very long time, and we kept waiting and waiting, deadline after deadline. Now, with everything that's going on, and everyone expected, NNPC is excited about the fact that we're going to be having more refineries coming on board, and when this competition hits, we will actually see a drop in the price of petrol. But you're saying, marginal based on what we have right now. I want you to be able to talk about the prospects for the future when it comes to the refineries. And another thing, the transparency that people have been asking for when it comes to NNPCL. And opening up his books, let us understand what's really going on. Just speak to us a little bit about the prospects for the future and the calls for accountability from the NNPC. Are these calls very, are they important to the NNPC?
I talked about Nigeria being a net exporter of petroleum products. Every viable refinery that comes up is going to support that drive. So every refinery is encouraged to come up and produce. And I did talk about proximity. Proximity plays a key part because there are costs that you really can't do anything about. And there are some costs that you can do something about. If the refinery is located in a particular area and it's able to serve the people of those areas at a little less cost than a refinery that is remotely located. So it's good to have those refineries in all of those locations, providing primarily petroleum products to the people in those localities. So there isn't any issue about that. The more the refineries we have, the better for us. There's a market stretching all the way to South Africa. So there's a huge market that's currently being served by refineries in Europe. So there's really nothing that's going to constrain any refinery that's properly run to get business.
All right, we're winding down now. So in terms, does this at least address the question of scarcity of the product? We shouldn't.
It's not about, so scarcity of the products was a function of an unsustainable situation. And I'll explain that to you. In my role as EVP downstream, which I held for a little over a year, it was a battle every day. Now, how did we, in that 1 year, we had 2 meetings every day, including weekends, to ensure that we get products out. And I'll explain to you why. the pricing of the product was not market reflective, one. And secondly, there was a challenge accessing FX to pay for the products. So we had a situation that we had to manage very carefully, and to make sure that there was products across the country. It wasn't an easy job. When you drive at that time, when you drive into the gas station and you fill up, you take it for granted. But I can tell you that you had tens of people working every day, meeting twice a day to make sure that that happens, because it wasn't driven by market. It wasn't driven by market. And when you have any situation that isn't driven by market, it can't be efficient. That's why we talk about markets. Market drives efficiency. Now that the prices are fully deregulated, that is what's going to make the difference, not the fact that Port Harcourt Refinery is coming upstream, onstream, or anything, or Dangote Refinery is coming onstream. When you have market forces determining prices, it will force competition over time, and you'll get and the people will get the benefit of it.
All right, we have to thank you for coming on. Mr. Dapo Segun is the Chief Financial Officer for NNPC Limited. Thank you, and all the best to you and the team.
Thank you very much.
All right, we're back in a moment. Stay on with us. Welcome back to Sunrise Daily. We've got Senator Babangida Hussaini here with us. He is representing Jigawa Northwest Senatorial District. He's the chairman, Senate Committee on Pharma, among several things, I tell you. So, good morning, Senator.
Good morning.
Thank you for coming on today.
I appreciate it.
So let's start with getting your impression, first of all, of the activity of Port Harcourt Old Refinery. I know that at least senators too would have heard it and read it, and perhaps looking forward to it and more. So how did that news greet you? How did you see it?
Well, it is quite a very pleasant and encouraging news, having regard to the frequent issues around the petroleum sector. Regarding the importation, the withdrawal of subsidy, the Dangote NNPC controversies. So I think it's a good news, and I think I pray that other refineries will also come on stream and begin production.
But would you be disappointed to hear that even if all the other refineries come on stream, we're told that the impact on the price will be marginal, maybe not significant as consumers?
Yes. Well, you know, there are a lot of variables that affect the pricing of any commodity. And in the case of the petroleum sector, I think it is partly dependent on the strength of the Naira. At the same time, you know, of even greater concern for me is the absence of control in our borders. Most of these petroleum products are normally smuggled out of Nigeria to as far as Mali, Central African Republic, a lot of African countries. I have no issue with supporting and supplying our neighbors, but it should be done on a government-to-government basis so that at least there will be formal record of what comes in and what goes out. And at the same time, you know, it will surely affect our forex. The strength of the Naira will be enhanced, and at the same time, we can as well formalize the relationship and strengthen it. I think those are the areas that gives me concern.
I mean, we want to be able to talk about the 2025 budget estimates, and there have been a lot of criticisms about these estimates and what kind of impact they would have when it comes to development. One of the major criticisms is that they're not very capital project intensive. You know, they're not really focusing on capital projects. A lot of it is recurrent expenditure. And of course, even the figure of the budget itself, it may be higher than last year's budget, but in dollar terms, it's actually less. And we're trying to move the economy forward, trying to boost areas like manufacturing and boost the internally generated revenue of the states. What do you make of these controversies around the 2025 budget and what kind of impact it would have on the developments we're planning for?
The truth is, I have not gotten the smaller details as contained in the budget, but the broader outline of the budget, it's quite ambitious. But like you pointed out, for me, it is not about the numbers, but it is about the cascading effect of the budget on the productive sectors of the economy. Over the years, we have spent so much money on non-essential sectors of the economy to the detriment of the productive sectors of the economy. The small and medium-scale enterprises that drive and are the engine room of any economy globally are neglected. They don't seem to have the kind of support that will drive the ambitious plan of this administration. One. Secondly, the agricultural sector, if you disaggregate the value chain of the agriculture, a lot of opportunities are there. That we are facing the threat of food security because we have not invested so much in the agricultural sector. Besides that, even those that have made the industries, like for instance, the rice millers, for me, if we want to go forward, it is about backward integration. It is not about any rice miller just coming in to set up a rice mill. Government should encourage backward integration so that they can produce the rice they mill. Those are the areas that gives me concern. Furthermore, the issue of the ratio between the capital and the recurrent is also a source of concern. In 2015-2016 budget, there was a remarkable shift towards spending more on capital and infrastructure, but over the years, I think we are receding back to the former budgeting cycle of spending more on capital and non-productive sectors in the economy to the detriment of the productive sectors of the economy that create employment, create wealth, and bring about prosperity for Nigerians.
So is that not something that, as a senator, you can also have an input and perhaps lobby your colleagues to ensure that they make that point to the executive?
I think the 10th Assembly, under the leadership of Senator Godswill Akpabio, has demonstrated the willingness to engage the executive to ensure that we kind of try to strike a balance between these contending paradigms. When the budget is laid, of course, the relevant committees will look at it. The National Planning Committee, the Finance Committee, the Appropriation, and all other committees will go into the smaller details and bring to the fore these silent issues.
So in terms of the overall impact of budgets, not just this budget, budgets generally, and I know you might have heard that criticism as well, that they usually just recurring items time and again, and they keep wondering, why do they keep allocating funds here? People don't understand why you have to buy utensils and all this is every cycle.
A new car every cycle.
And so they keep wondering, don't lawmakers see these things? Or do you just say, well, let's just go with the flow so that if I scratch their back, they scratch my back?
Well, I want to contextualize this question. I just left the executive arm of government as a civil servant. I see these things, they recur almost every budget cycle, and they are a source of concern. But fundamentally, I think it's about our budgeting process. Ordinarily, the call circular is supposed to be issued in the month of September to ministries, departments, and agencies for them to put up their budget estimates. And then between the month of October and November, the budget is laid before the National Assembly. Adequate time will be given for the National Assembly to do due diligence on the budget and then fish out these recurring items that come almost ICT, consumables, ICT hardware,
furniture every year.
It is quite a source of concern, and I think it all boils down to the issue of our haste in preparation of our budget, and also at the same time lack of attention given to smaller details. But I think over the years, with the experience of Mr. President...
but Senator, even if we're in a hurry to prepare the budget, if they give it to me, and I have 4 years, the first year, and before coming in there, I've been in Nigeria, and I see these things. And then I come in and I say, furniture, utensils, plates. Oh, come on. No matter how fast and how in a hurry I am, I should be able to say, no, come on, guys. What is this?
I quite agree with you. And I think, like I earlier on said, it is all a matter of our preparations. If we attach and give time, in the past, even there are circulars to that effect. Budget call circulars are expected to be issued first week of September of every financial year. And then ministries, departments, and agencies have about a month, and they would have collected all these inputs from their respective field offices, from their departments, from their units, aggregate all of them, and come up with their budget estimate in 1 month. And then the copy of those estimates is submitted to the Ministry of Budget and National Planning, who will do all the, based on the envelope system and based on the financial strength of the government at that particular time, they now submit it to the National Assembly. So I think, because as I speak with you...
But that's the question, Senator. Let's not gloss over it. You've not answered Chamberlain's question. When these things are brought in front of you, because they have to come to the National Assembly. So when you look at it and you see that they are repeating things, has the National Assembly, the Senate, have they ever said, oh, no, this doesn't look right. Why is this happening? Has that ever happened? Or is it glossed over? Like he said, is there a situation where you just let it go because you may need them at some point? You don't want them to be angry with you.
No, really. I think, to be fair to the 10th Assembly, and I'm a member of the 10th Assembly anyway, to be fair to the system and the Appropriation Committee, they have done some of those aggregation. But like I said, we have to go back to the process of a formal budgeting system that has been in place in the past. And
Would there be a difference?
Definitely,
because there was furniture in that process too.
Yeah, but still, if you juxtapose it against what happens over the years, you will surely see that it's not as bad as it was. But of course, the proliferation of the creation of agencies of government over the years, almost every government comes in with new policy initiatives, new thinking, and then agencies, departments, ministries, committees, commissions are set up. And then, of course, they all come with different demands that they present and are captured in the budget. So fundamentally, I think the filtering process should start from the Budget Office of the Federation.
But is it true that these things, in fact, people should not expect an immediate change because they say there's a racket going on here? Because most times, even these budgets, they don't get to release the entire amount. And in some cases too, they will tell you, well, you need to give us a certain percentage of this budget if you have to have your budget released. They say some lawmakers may ask MDAs.
Well, those are, statements in the realm of allegations, if you like. I will give an example. I'm chairing a committee, FEMA committee as it were, and I engaged the MDA to say that, look, prioritize the areas that you think you really need the legislative funding and also the support you need to do your job. So, of course, a lot of allegations can come up. You can get to hear a lot of such stories, but I really don't know anything about it. But I think where the issue lies, and maybe where people tend to mix issues, is about the relationship between the legislature and the executive. It is a symbiotic relationship. We all do have our constitutional responsibilities, and we are expected to work harmoniously together. Where you have that relationship, a lot of allegations and a lot of permutations are brought to the table to say that, oh, they have given in, oh, they have photocopied that, this and that. But fundamentally, I think I don't have any such information in respect of scratch my back, I scratch your back, take this, I take that. I don't have such information.
All right, well, we'll get back to that conversation with you because I do have more questions about this back scratching. But just so we can give you some of the breaking news that you can see actually scrolling right now on your screens, the Economic and Financial Crimes Commission, EFCC, has instituted a 110 billion naira alleged fraud suit against former governor of of Kogi State, and I think we're trying to get the visuals right now, and I hear that he has been arraigned in court. We're seeing that breaking news right now. He's adorning a white kaftan, according to the details that we're getting, a blue cap. He was accompanied by officials of the Economic and Financial Crimes Commission, arraigned before Justice Marianne Aneni of the Federal Capital Territory High Court. So that's the breaking story that we have there right now. So back to this back-scratching business. I mean, you've done a lot to debunk it, but let's talk a little bit more about the budget for 2025. Yeah. What are your hopes? What are the hopes that we're having as we're moving the country out of the doldrums that we're in right now with the figures that we're seeing right now? It's not complete. Not all the states have submitted yet. But when we're looking at 2025, what are we expecting to see in terms of development? Is this the way to go? Or are there some changes that states should be thinking about right now as we move into 2025?
Well, I will not be able to speak on the subnationals, but I can speak about the expectations of Nigerians as a representative of the people. Fundamentally, I think the budget should address issues of poverty reduction, issues of completion and commission of ongoing projects. Over the years, we have a lot of projects that have been neglected and have not been completed. Some reaching as far as 80–90% completion stage. And I think the budget should address those kind of concerns. At the same time, you know, the issue of youth unemployment. There is youth restiveness everywhere. Every small issue, you'll see the reaction of the youth to them because most of them are idle, they don't have work to do. And the opportunities are there. The economy is so huge with a lot of opportunities. It is only about harnessing those opportunities and putting in place mechanism to address such concerns. And I think those, for me, are the areas the budget should address. But of course, I'm not from the executive. I don't do the budget. They do it, we look at it, and then if it is okay, we pass it.
Is this budget in any way, and to what extent do you think is going to address the real concerns the people have? Because as it is now, people just feel it's going to be business as usual.
Well, you see, budget is an estimate dependent on a lot of variables. The revenue flow of the government is very important. And the revenue flow of the government, Nigeria being almost a mono-dependent export nation, or largely dependent on the export of our crude. And the international oil market, as you know, is volatile, dependent also on a lot of factors. Peace is one of them. When Ukraine and Russia went to war, it affected the global oil price. When China and other countries have issues with their economies, it naturally affects the price of oil. So for me, I think hoping that the variables will hold for now, and then taking the price benchmark, we have a crude oil benchmark of $75 a barrel, holding for a while. I think with the commitment of this administration, the Bola Ahmed Tinubu administration, I think they should be able to deliver on some of the promises made in the budget.
Maybe you should simplify it a little further for people out there, because I mean, you're in touch with your constituency. They always reach out to you saying, listen, we want something meaningful economically. Yeah. Could you break it down to the extent that they will understand why do we need to pass budgets? What direct impact will it make on their lives?
Well, definitely, you see, the constituent I represent is perhaps one of the most, let me see, environmentally impacted part of Nigeria, lying close to the border, and with the desertification and the global warming phenomena coming up. And then at the southern part of my constituency, again, we have flooding issues. So, you know, a kind of paradox. Here we are faced with the desertification. On the other side, we are faced with flooding. But overall, I think governments need to do more in terms of monitoring and evaluation, because oftentimes these funds are appropriated, release is made, reasonable release is made, not necessarily fully. Of course, like I said, it's dependent on the revenue
most times
flow.
It's never fully.
It's never fully. So, but I think it's about the utilization of what is available for the benefit of the common man. And like I earlier on said, the most important thing the budget should address and we should be looking at is about investing in the productive sectors of the economy. If you go to, for instance, Megateri market in Jigawa, in the zone I represent, or Gujungu market, those are very good examples of how we can harness the opportunities that are there. is the largest sesame producing part of Nigeria, and also the hibiscus flower. Countries, especially in the Middle East and the Far East, are always in demand of this kind of. So the opportunity and the investment to bring about the opportunity that will, help in exporting these commodities and earn foreign exchange for Nigeria is enormous. And I think those are the areas that the common man should be concerned with. Fertilizer for his farm when the rainy season comes, not when he's almost harvesting and then the fertilizers are supplied. At the same time, the issue of employment, the level of unemployment is quite alarming. And perhaps that accounts for most of the reaction of the youth when matters go out of hand. If you could recall, during the good governance protest, my properties were attacked. My farm, actually, my animals carted away. Yeah. But I understand the anger and the pain. For them, it is about whatever they can lay their hands on and they can pay.
Wait, this recent protest?
Yes.
Not NSAS protest?
Yes.
You got what?
Yes.
Wait, was your farm borderless?
Yes.
And
it wasn't
there's
borderless.
a water project going on in your senatorial district, and I know that because of that, water is being connected from a very big source into all the farms in your area.
Irrigation
scheme, irrigation. So it's an irrigation, and because of that, they don't have all those walls that are separating one farm from the other. Your farms are basically on the highway. I want to be able to talk about the sesame seed production in your state, because you are absolutely correct.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of exporting of the seeds themselves.
Yes.
What moves are being made by you as someone who represents that constituency for us to actually turn those seeds into oil? Because what we're doing now is that we're exporting those seeds at different levels of polishing, but then you now import from China the finished product. What's being done?
Okay, last month, a couple of months back, I reached out to the Nexim Bank because we have to disaggregate the sesame production value chain, the production, the processing, and the export or the marketing part of it. And we got support from Nexim Bank. They held a huge workshop and seminar, an enlightenment seminar. I invited 750 farmers from the 12 constituencies that I represent. We had a one-day program, and it was quite revealing. One, the quality of the seeds we're even using is outdated kind of. The productivity level is quite low. There are better seeds that have better quality and better returns. Secondly, the cleaning process of the finished product itself, is quite rudimentary and archaic. They have shown to the farmers some simple, advanced way of cleaning the sesame seed that will meet up to international standards. From the marketing side, the phytohygiene section, that's the chemicals they use in storing and packaging and, the transportation. We are all taken through them, and we are all enlightened. In fact, the KPIs from that program is what we are working with the Nexim Bank to drive it further so that my people will surely benefit from that. So we are working closely together with the Nexim Bank and other agricultural institutions to drive and to reform the sector entirely.
Is there going to be a demand from the Senate, if not, maybe you can lead it, to always give account of unspent budgetary funds? Because usually there's a lot, right from the time of former Speaker Dimeji Bankole, who himself said, look, there are usually a lot of these funds, and what happens is when it gets to that time, they say, look, we have to find a way to push this fund somewhere so that it doesn't return to the coffers.
I think that's in the old accounting system that was in place in the past. Now the money is in the pocket of the government itself. It is normally released on demand after contracts are executed. In the past, like you pointed out, that was the practice. At the end of the year, monies, I'll use the term, were housed until the financial year ends, and then they are brought back and then used again. But this time around, because of the TSA and other accounting models in place, that doesn't happen again. But I think where we probably have to do more is in terms of our oversight. Oftentimes, our oversight are rather a little bit, we kind of, it's not deep enough. And that's, I think, what this National Assembly, the 10th National Assembly is dealing with. It is on record that this is the first time that recess was granted by the leadership to allow committees to go on oversight, 2 weeks recess, and we just came back. We have collated our reports, and the outcome of such oversight is quite revealing. You know, the inertia in the system, the lack of initiatives, and some other areas. I think almost all the committees are going to lay their reports, and then, of course, it will form part of the input for the 2025 budget.
So as a wind down, let me ask you, are you happy with the way things are in this country with the economy?
It can be better.
And you're not happy with it at the moment?
It can be better. That I think is the way to put it. I'm a Nigerian. I love Nigeria. I appreciate the reform initiatives of Mr. President Bola Ahmed Tinubu, but I think we can do better.
But do you understand when people say some of these policies need to be reviewed?
No, of course.
Some of them are not
no, of course. No, of course. Policies are not cast in stone. They are supposed to be dynamic. They are supposed to respond to the demands of the time. So I believe there is need for us to look inwards and do more in terms of delivery and in terms of our overall governance architecture.
Do you have conversations with your governor in terms of what he needs to do, how he needs to impact the lives of people better?
No, of course, yes, we do. Governor Umar Namadi is a personal friend. Beyond even being a personal friend, we formed a bond during the campaigns. I think, if I may just recap this, he actually said, Senator, you know, we have to go to the villages and see and really understand the challenges in the communities. And I think that's, we have designed an 11-point agenda which he is aggressively pursuing. So I think we're on the same page, and we share the same concerns.
You've at least been in civil service, in the executive.
Yes.
What is usually the main problem? Why governors are not able to deliver to the people? And at the end of the day, you see them facing several cases with the EFCC for being accused of stolen money. In fact, some also extended it and say, civil service is evil service.
Okay, thank you very much. I retired a couple of 2 years back, 2 years plus back. I know the issues in the civil service. Some of them dates back to the culture in the civil service itself. And of course, the civil service is a macrocosm of the larger society. It reflects what the society is all about. So I think governors, not even governors, all of us have to work together to have the service, the civil service that will deliver on our demands.
All right, so I think those images you saw, I hope I did say the same.
We're looking at them.
They are, when I was speaking about governors, so that's the former governor of Kogi State. Yeah. The EFCC had instituted a 110 billion naira alleged fraud suit against him. And the last hearing, which we understand was in November, the EFCC did seek an adjournment to that matter for tomorrow, but at the moment it's going to be arraigned before Justice Marian Aneni of the Federal FCT High Court. It turns out that the former governor, alongside Omar Oricha and Abdulsalami Hudu, are being prosecuted as the first and third defendants in that fresh 110 billion naira 16-count charge brought against them by the EFCC. Now, he's not taking his plea yet, so we cannot tell if he's going to be remanded in EFCC custody. But we also do know some time ago, remember, former Delta State governor was picked up by the commission, and perhaps all of that info is also out there. But we will bring you more details on this matter as we get them. Senator, moving forward now, I know you say it can be better, but timeline is a difficult thing. Unemployment rates, both at the federal and state level, is huge. And perhaps maybe that's why you were, well, should I say, understanding of those who came to your farm. Yeah. But the problem with that is if they did it then, it means they could do it again if the authorities don't do something to empower a lot of those people with industries, even if it's cottage industries, as it were.
The irony is that you see, over the years, we have not invested so much in terms of creating employment opportunities. In the past, you know, the natural habitat of anybody is the civil service. Once they finish their school in the civil service. But the private sector has not been given the enabling environment to absorb most of these young boys and girls that have just graduated and gotten these certificates. And of course, an idle mind, they say, is a devil's workshop. Most of them are at home, and that's why the first motion I laid in the National Assembly as a member of the Senate was about the issue of substance and drug abuse. Most of them resort as an escapist strategy. Very unfortunate. It has cascaded even to the family level. Hardly you go to any family, especially in the urban centers, Abuja, Kano, Lagos, Port Harcourt, Enugu, you will be shocked at the level of drug and substance abuse. And of course, it's a function of unemployment. You know, the youth have really not much to do. If we can invest so much in our industrial hubs, Sharadai in Kano, Kakuri in Kaduna, Agbara in Lagos, Ikeja, Newi, Aba, those are places that will really provide the push for us to have clusters of industry that will be employing these young men and boys that are loitering at home.
I think it's a conversation worth having moving forward, perhaps across board, such that industries. So if we do that, get a lot of people out of the streets so that we can get this country moving. After all, they are the future. Yeah. So if we lose them now, it means we've got no future.
Sure.
Senator, I want to thank you for coming on this morning. All the best to you and your team.
Thank you very much for having me, and I appreciate the opportunity.
All right, Business Morning comes up now.
Hello and welcome to the midweek trading day right here, and it's the trading day right after the NPC decision, which was a dovish hike yesterday, about 25 basis points. But let's get to the top stories set to agenda. All prices have steadied in early trade today, with markets assessing the potential impact of a ceasefire deal between Israel and Hezbollah and ahead of Sunday's OPEC Plus meeting that's coming up. But we see a pullback there for Brent, 0.2%, $72.79 a barrel. Then we see the U.S. grade there, $68.73, down 0.1%, reversing the gains that we saw in the markets yesterday. Both benchmarks settled lower. That was for Tuesday evening after Israel agreed to a ceasefire deal. So we see geopolitics there. No geopolitics, then the prices come down. You see geopolitical tension, then the prices go up. Let's get a check on the FX market. For the NAFEX rate, weakened about 8 naira 27 kobo, down 0.49%. But there was strength for NFM. And yes, and that was the close after the 25 basis points rate hike. So we see strengthening there, 0.97%. For Naira, 1,659 Naira to the dollar. Still that trading range between 1,650 to 1,670. And yeah, the central bank governor, Olaimi Cardoso, has pledged to intensify efforts to fight inflation. Speaking after the 298th monetary policy meeting in Abuja, he reaffirmed the CBN's commitment to orthodox monetary policy, stating there's no going back. Cardoso explained that monetary measures take time to yield results, with significant impact expected by the first quarter of 2025. He assured Nigerians of the CBN's determination to achieve long-term economic stability, and the governor says plans are underway to address structural issues like supply disruptions and infrastructure deficits. He also adds that the bank is working to remove distortions in the foreign exchange market for fair Naira valuation. Meanwhile, the Center for Promotion of Private Enterprise warns that the CBN's continued monetary tightening could worsen challenges in key sectors like air transport and textiles, which remain in recession. The CEO of CPPE, Dr. Muda Yusuf, raises concerns over weak third quarter GDP growth. He notes that the agricultural sector grew by just 1.14%, manufacturing about 0.92%, while financial services, that surged by 32%, exposing a disconnect with the real economy. CPP is calling for increased monetary and fiscal support for struggling sectors, and they're urging the CBN to strengthen its support for development finance institutions to address financing gaps caused by the tight monetary policy. And the Port Harcourt Refinery has officially resumed crude oil processing, with truck loading commencing during a brief ceremony at the refinery in the River State capital. The group CEO of the NNPC, Mr. Mele Kiara, described the commencement of the load-out activities as a monumental achievement for the country, which signifies a new era for energy independence and economic growth. Take a listen.
that our team, the NNPC workers, combined with our contractors, our management, our board of directors have come together with the support of Mr. President. It's very important to know that you can't do this without leadership support and encouragement. And with that combination, this plan has come live today. It's going to solve some of the energy security issues in our country, and we are very proud that this has been done, and it's really a very fulfilling moment, this moment for everyone working in NNPC, and also to our shareholders, that we have delivered value to our shareholders, and this is what they expect from us, and we're happy today has happened. There's no other way of describing it than saying we have delivered what we say we're going to do, but more importantly, this country has shown that we're capable of doing many, many more great things in this country. No, the plant is running. This plant is almost new now. We have no fears around the sustainability of this plant. This plant will run. We don't even think of this. What capacity? Yeah, it's a 60,000 barrels part of the refinery that we have fixed now, and then we are completing the other part of it very soon. We cannot discuss pricing on this platform. Thank you.
Right, so reactions upon reactions trailing the coming online of the Port Harcourt refinery seems to have moved from celebration to so many questions at this point. Well, let's explore this in Nigeria's oil and gas infrastructure. Join us for the conversation. We have Mr. Abel Wobodo, the Managing Director, Phenomenal Energy. Joining me via Zoom. Great to have you on the show. Good morning.
Good morning, Laddie, and thanks for having me.
Yeah, it's great to have you. So much ado about blending, refining. Why do you think the NNPC, emphasize that blending is a globally accepted practice in refining?
Yes, thanks, Laddie. Perhaps before I talk about blending and how it works and why it's globally accepted, permit me to give a little bit overview of this refinery, so that our viewers can, have a better grasp of what it used to be and what we're looking forward to. Be reminded that we have two refineries in Port Harcourt. One was installed in 1965, and it has the capacity of about 60,000 barrels. I mean, that's about what the James was talking about. That has been done, and that has a crude distillation unit, catalytic reforming unit, and equally an LPG plant, right? And the other one has about, was done in 1989 and has the capacity of about 150,000 barrels per day, and has similar units. In addition was the naphtha and the catalytic reforming unit that was added. And so the refineries we have in Port Harcourt, both we have a compound.
All right, yeah, I guess Mr. Wobodo got frozen there. We'll try and get Mr. Wobodo back. Okay, all right, I think we lost you for a moment there, but you can continue with your thoughts.
Okay, yeah, so I mean, I was talking about that the Port Harcourt refinery has a combined capacity of 210,000 barrels. Okay, so the 60,000 barrels units that the GMD spoke about, blending is accepted because if some of your units are not functional at the moment, you can blend upon the point where all the other twins are, up and running. Then you can, stop the blending and then do everything internally within the refinery. So the question would be, which of these twins are functional now, and where are they, in terms of the refurbishment and turnaround maintenance of the other facilities? So that will give us a better grasp of where we are and the kind of expectations we and Nigerians should have going forward.
What do you think is the catalyst, for the PH refinery coming online at this time? Because we know these refineries have been moribund for the longest time. Is it about, giving Nigerians value at this time, seeing that Nigerians are struggling under high PMS prices and, petroleum products, or is the Dangote refinery the catalyst here?
Yeah, I mean, I will say congrats to the GMD and the government for getting the refineries back and, trying to help ameliorate the sufferings of Nigerians in terms of the prevalent economic hardship. But the key question is not just about getting it back. Mind you that it was pristine before, right? It was built and then it went down the way it did. So the key question is, where do we go from here as Nigerians? where do we go from here as people within the oil and gas sector? Because right now, the expectation will be that the people that will manage this refinery should be professionals, right? Because oil and gas industry, the downstream is the most stringent part of it in terms of cost, right? So there's low margins in refining, and that tells how the government has struggled over time. Because if you don't have people that has good grasp of cost management, run refineries, in a few months or a few years down the line, we'll see go down to the same place. So yes, we are trying to give support to Nigerians, but how do we achieve it in the long run? Okay, so we need to have people that understand how to run refineries. It's not just in Nigeria, globally. What comes out of the refinery can be classified as, those are consumer products, right? And in things like that, price is the order of the day. So if you don't have people that knows how to manage this, to make the good business calls, and not just chronic capitalism. Because if the government continues with chronic capitalism in how the refineries will be managed, I can tell you for sure that this will be short-lived. And before you know it, those refineries goes down to how it used to be, and then it almost same as if the efforts and the money will be in vain.
Okay, but with all we're seeing so far, with refineries coming online, we have the Dangote refinery, and expectations that more refineries will come online, from what the NNPCL has said. But if the naira remains where it is, even though we have all the refineries working, does it mean these prices of PMS and other petroleum products will still stay high, regardless of refineries?
Yeah, I mean, that the crude oil that is refined is traded on the international market. So the variance of how the international oil market in terms of crude, will affect. But however, since we have local refining capacity, and if we get this one and other ones come on stream, then that means that the added cost, so you have the agency theory. So the added cost of having the agents in between, imported from abroad and all that will be taken away. And that should either help the cost to stabilize now or even go down a little bit. But more importantly is that those that manage the refineries understand how the facilities work and be able to run it professionally and not just appointing people based on, like I said before, chronic capitalism. It will not help. Instead of helping to ameliorate, it's going to even worsen, the current suffering of Nigerians.
All right, so let's look at now investment when it comes to oil and gas infrastructure, in Nigeria. We see, I got a headline yesterday that in Kuwait, that we see in Kuwait they're targeting production capacity of about 3.2 million barrels per day. They've also announced $33 billion investment plan, and this is the Kuwait Petroleum Corporation. That's equivalent to the NNPC Limited. So, bringing it to Nigeria, what kind of investments do you think we should be looking at? Help us put a price tag on it, so that we can actually ramp up production of oil, to get our revenue in check and also have feedstock, for most of these refineries that are coming online.
Yeah, so basically, right now, most of our assets are over 40 years within the oil and gas sector. And Nigeria extracts hydrocarbons from about 332 developed fields, according to the NEPLC. And then the country's pipeline network is about 5,284 kilometers, connecting onshore processing facilities. So right now, for more investment to come in, the international community and even the local players need to understand where we are regarding the assets, right? What facilities are in place? The existing ones, are they well maintained? If they are not, what are their asset integrity conditions, right? But if you have a repository where somebody can access and know that this is what we have. For instance, you have a marginal field, right? The rounds happen and the bids happen, but the rate at which these bid rounds are awarded is not commensurate with the rate at which the fields are developed. Because some of those fields are little are known about them. Some people can bid and not able to ascertain the exact position of those bids. For instance, we spoke about Kuwait. a country like Norway, right? So they have a CMMS system, computer-based management system, where all their infrastructure within the oil and gas country are, deposited in terms of the pipelines, the vessels, the pipings, their conditions. So anybody can have access to it. And then the investors now have a view of what needs to happen. Okay, so if they bring in their money, they know that assets are there to evacuate anything that can be produced. Okay, so the kind of reserve that we will have, the amount of money, even much more than the what you just mentioned now, that the Kuwait ministry has attracted, is far beyond what we as Nigerians require right now to get the oil and gas infrastructure going. But before then, the needful needs to be done to ensure that the assets that we have, we are able to itemize them. We know their integrity status, and then anybody investing has that confidence, to come in and put his investments within the sector.
Right, $33 billion. That's definitely a big number. Over 90% of our forex, and that's our forex buffer at this point. But thank you so much. It was great having your perspective, Mr. Abel Nwobo, the Managing Director, Phenomenal Energy. Thank you so much for coming on.
Thank you.
All righty, now we'll take a break now. When we come back, more conversations. Do stay with us.
Yeah, while I was growing up, I heard a lot about those great icons who have made great impact in Nigeria, such as late sage Obafemi Awolowo, who brought about free education at all levels in Western region, and that also sync with the famous inaugural speech of late American President John F. Kennedy, who said, "Think not what your country can do for you, but think about what you can do for your country." That gave birth to Megastar magazine in telling the story of those great icons, celebrating people, business, and events who are shaping our world, who are shaping our community. So we've been doing that in the last 15 years. We want to take it further to recognize those icons who have made our community a better place to live in. And that's why for the first time, we are doing what is called Megastar Man of the Decade Award. Megastar Man of the Decade Awards, to recognize their contribution in the last 10 years. It's very easy for you to start something within a year because you have the resources. But these are the men through the thick and tiny, regardless of government policy and challenges, they still keeping us together with their services, with their products, with their humanitarian and all of that. So they have a special category which has to do Megastar Man of the Decade posthumous, where we'll be recognizing those who are no longer with us, but their impact speaks volume, and as well the Nigerians in the diaspora to appreciate those people who are making us proud, although they are not here with us in Nigeria, but we want to show to them that we appreciate you, we recognize you. And also the Friends of Nigeria category, those foreign nationals who have been in Nigeria for over a decade, we are enjoying their services, their products, whatever they are doing. We want to say we appreciate you, and not an outcast here. Of course, and our homegrown icons who have been doing great. I talk about in sport, in entertainment, real estate, humanitarian, in governance. So we'll be appreciating them. Of course, one of my mentors, Chief Dele Momodu, who have transformed the lifestyle journalism. We have his presence with us on that day. And of course, our real Man of the Decade of the Year, I'm so excited about it. I'm talking about no other person. They call him the Spirit of Africa. Dr. Mike Adenuga, the founder of Globalcom. You remember a revolution rise per seconds billing. If not, Nigeria will have been paying so much for making a call, connecting business and all of that. And it happened to be the largest indigenous telecommunication. Those are the spirit that we are talking about. We want to celebrate. Of course, His Excellency Engineer Abdullahi Sule of Nasarawa State, who will be recognized for its transformational, agenda in Nasarawa State. Also, we'll be blessed to have His Majesty Ogiame Atuache, the Olu of Warri, one of those forward-thinking monarchs in Nigeria who are also doing so much in their community. He will be special guest of honor to speak on the topic social enterprise, a catalyst for development in Nigeria. Of course, we are going to have a panel session. There are very rich people who have contributed so much to our community. Please make it a date on the 1st of December 2024 at the West Canton Hotel and Apartment at Sokoro, Abuja. And the theme of this year is Social Enterprise, a catalyst for development in Nigeria. My name is Adeni Ifetayo. I'm the executive producer of Megastar Man of the Decade Award and the publisher of Megastar Magazine. See you there.
Joining us now is Adeni Ifetayo, the executive producer, Megastar Man of the Decade. It's great to have you on the show. Good morning.
Yeah, good morning, Mr. Ladi. It's my pleasure to be here.
Fantastic. It's great to have you. So talk to me, what motivated the creation of the Megastar Man of the Decade Award, and how do you determine who makes the list of the honorees?
Yes, it all began 15 years ago. In Nigeria, we make history, but we don't keep a record of history. So we look at those individuals who have been keeping us together, regardless of the economic situation, the government policy. They have been making us proud. They have been making us, supporting the community. And we felt that we should recognize them. We have some of our people who are in the diaspora. When you mention their name, you are excited to be a Nigerian. So we said we should look for a place or an avenue to bring them together so that we can honor them. And of course, we have some foreign nationals who are here in the last decade who have been doing stuff in Nigeria, their services, their products. We want to tell them that they are not an outcast. They are part of Nigeria, so we want to celebrate them. And we came up with a long list. We have a committee. It is very easier for you to start something within a year or for a year when you have resources. But how do you keep it? How do you sustain it? How do you keep the fire burning even when all the ships were down? So that's the reason why we said we need to celebrate them. They have the product, they have the services, they have what they are doing that keep us together as a Nigeria. So that's the basis. And those that make the list, of course, we have from real estate, from tech, from agri, from oil and gas, from education, health sector. We just look at those different sectors, to pinpoint and to spotlight their services, what they have been doing, their contribution, so that they can serve as an inspiration for those younger generation.
All right, and I understand that there will be a panel discussion on the role of social enterprise in driving Nigeria's development. Talk to me about why you chose this topic and who will be on this panel.
Yes, first and foremost, I want to link it just like the video that I played. One of my favorite quotes of all time is former American president during his inaugural famous speech, John F. Kennedy, who said, "Ask not what your country can do for you, but ask what you can do for your country." These are the people who have contributed so much from private sector, from NGO, from even government agency. It's very easier for people, when you attain the position of authority, you can do anyhow, but you think of people first. So that is what we want to encourage. We have the Attorney General and Commissioner of Justice in Nasarawa, that's Labara Shuaibu, will be joining us, and my own mentor, Chief Dele Momodu, who have transformed the lifestyle journalism in Nigeria. Being a journalist transform even this social media of a thing, and he will also be joining us on that panel. And one of the fantastic senator that we have for the National Assembly, talking about Prince Ned Nwoko. You remember through his initiative, he was able to get Paris and London refund back to Nigeria. Also, we have Senator Adams Aliyu Shomole, someone who have been in the labor force and transformed to governors and all of that. So it's going to be rich, and it will be hosted by CNN Stephanie Busari, that's a senior editor of CNN for Africa, Stephanie Busari, on that day. So we also have some people in attendance. It's very easy to come up, have a fantastic discussion. We have some students joining us from University of Abuja so that they can learn from story. All these things, you can't get them from four wall of classroom. So those are the things that I want to do. And when you are talking about social enterprise, we are talking about being selfless. I believe that was what John F. Kennedy was saying. And for God, if you can look at it, even God is a social entrepreneur, giving us the abundance of sun, giving us the abundance of rain, abundance of air that we breathe, solar energy, and all of that. So we are just saying, wherever you are, wherever you operate, you can do little thing at a time to affect the life of community or those around you.
Right, and we do need that, selfless mentality in Nigeria right now from all classes, at this point. But, talking about the panels, we've had so many panel discussions and, I've moderated so many, but often no real action, follows. How do you plan to make your, panel session different?
Yes, we want to lead by example. That's why we chose a public school where we say, okay, we can't just have this an event. They are needed furniture. I personally visited the school here in Abuja, where we noticed that pupils were mud pop and they don't have enough furniture. We did that for them, and the principal called me that the little gesture that we did, it makes 200 pupils to sit down, conveniently to learn under, a conducive environment. And also, you and I, you remember, just of recent, we have an outbreak of cholera. We thought we have gone past that. And I went to that same school. There are about 3 schools in the same compound. Over 2,000 pupils, they are sharing 3 toilets. So we said, no, let's build them a toilet. It's ongoing now. I believe before December 1st, where we're going to be having our event, it should be completed. So we want to lead by example. We want to show them that you can adopt, even if you cannot do 20 furnitures, even if it's 5, even if it's 1, like they said, a drop of water makes mighty ocean. That if you can lead by example, it will be very easier for others to follow. So we want to use Mega Star Man of the Decade Award, to show to them that you can serve anywhere you are and you can lead by example.
All right, but before I, let you go, what is the criteria for getting involved or supporting, the award, especially since it's tied to CSR initiatives, and what can we all expect from this one?
Yeah, SDG 3 and 4 talks about education and health, and thank God for those spirited individuals who have reached out, like the group CEO of Gas Group International, Barrister Glyphant Winugwe, who has really generously supported the cause that we are doing, because he saw what we are doing and he felt that he can be part of it. And we have, of course, the chairman of West Canton Hotel, Mr. Samuel Kumbo, who have been very supportive, and with the little resources that we have, we still need more. We cannot do it all, because I know I have access to these, the rich, the famous, the influential individual, those children, those peoples, they might not have access to them. So I'm just using the access, to meet their needs, and we still want some corporate bodies, individual to come up and support what we are doing. They said a drop of water makes mighty ocean. Your 1,000 naira, your 10,000 naira can save a lot.
And beyond your role as executive producer of the Megastar, Man of the Decade Award, what other endeavors do you engage in?
Yes, I'm an award-winning celebrity journalist and a media consultant. I celebrate people, business, and events. Yes, we have so many issues in Nigeria, but I want to touch light, those little wins that we have, those who are doing great stuff, those who are making Nigeria a better place. It's not all the time we're talking about issues, social vices that affect our community. Let's spotlight. I'm well-traveled. Even this issue that we are talking about in Nigeria also happen abroad, but they put more light on the good thing that is going for them. So that is what I do, telling our story. Like they said, sometimes if you don't blow your trumpet, nobody will blow them for you. So what I basically do is to, give your brand an exposure, give your brand visibility, positive brand perception,
taking your news, your story, your whatever product, your services that you are doing, across the globe, not just only in Nigeria, international TV, newspaper, magazine, and all of that. So if you want to get your product, your services, or your profile around the world, I'm the man you need to contact so that I can do that for you.
All right, thank you so much. I hope at some point you make me a man of some decade. At some point. Well, thank you so much. It was great having you on the show. Adeni Ifeta is the executive producer, Megastar Man of the Decade, and publisher, Megastar Magazine. Thank you so much for coming on.
Thank you, and thanks for Channels TV for this opportunity.
All righty then. Well, we're going to be heading on to other matters now, but here's one quick one. I'll be back again on Business Incorporated.
Media Communications proudly presents the Megastar Man of the Decade Award. Theme: Social Enterprise, a catalyst for development in Nigeria. Join us on December 1, 2024 at the Ritz-Carlton Hotel Asokoro, Abuja at 4 p.m. for a celebration of brilliance. This year's honorees include His Excellency President Paul Kagame, His Excellency Governor Abdullahi Sule, Alhaji Aliko Dangote, late Captain Hosa Okumbo, Mike Adenuga, Senator Ned Roko, Chief Dele Momodu, and music star Teni Makanaki, amongst others. Special guest of honor, His Majesty Ogiame Atwase III, Oluobori Kingdom. Be part of this spectacular night of inspiration. For more information, visit www.megastar.awards.org or call 0705-311-1111. The Megastar Man of the Decade Award, celebrating excellence and consistency. Supported by Ritz-Carlton Hotel and Apartments, God's Group, Arise Television, and Channel Television.
Located in the heart of Nigeria's oil-rich Niger Delta region, the Port Harcourt Refinery was commissioned in 1965 as Nigeria's first refinery, and it had an initial capacity of 35,000 barrels per day, which was subsequently increased to 60,000 barrels per day in 1972. In 1978, the federal government awarded a contract to build the second Port Harcourt Refinery, which was commissioned in 1989, boosting the total daily capacity for crude processing to 210,000 barrels. The combined daily capacity for premium motor spirits from the refinery was over 5 million liters. Poor maintenance of facilities, aging infrastructure, corruption, inefficiency, and inadequate manpower led to epileptic performance of the refinery, as capacity dropped below 50%. Going by industry practice, the facility should undergo turnaround maintenance every 2 years. However, that appears not to be the case, as the plant's capacity dropped below 20% in the early 2000s, and finally stopped operation by 2019. In March of 2021, the federal government approved $1.5 billion for the refurbishment and modernization of the complex. Work began at the site in May of 2021 with the first phase, which is the mechanical component of the rehabilitation work. That should have taken the refinery to a production of 90% capacity. However, the first phase was completed in December of 2023, and production did not commence as scheduled.
All of us had to be, on top of our games, so that today becomes a reality. And I'm happy that, the journalists that are here are also witnesses to what we're seeing here. The mechanical part is completed, and this is the beginning of, the completion of not just this Port Harcourt refinery, phase 1 and 2.
On 6 different occasions, the NNPC Limited promised to deliver the refinery, and each of the deadlines failed.
Latest by early August, the Port Harcourt refinery old will start producing product. And of course, the new one will get to December, and Wari will also be in production. I'm very optimistic. I don't have any confirmation this moment, so that nobody cuts me and say this, we keep lying. So we're not lying to you, Mr. President. It's a technical process. with your best of intention, you can put debts on refinery startup, but it is when you get to startup that you see the real challenges, even for a new refinery.
Eventually, 3 years after the deadline to begin operations, the plant rolls out the first batch of premium motor spirits from the old Port Harcourt refinery, which has a capacity of 60,000 barrels per day.
Okay, so keeping up our conversation with that one, we've got Mr. Bode Showme here with us. Good morning, and thank you for coming on today.
Good morning.
So for you, what is the significance of this old Port Harcourt refinery coming on stream?
I think we don't need to make anything complicated. We have had a moribund refinery that successive governments and successive tenures of people within the NNPC have tried to make it work, and they couldn't make it work, and it is now working. It is an achievement of sorts. It may not be that big of an achievement in terms of a milestone, but it is an achievement to the extent that whatever issues of corruption, of manipulation, or whatever it is that's within the system that is not making it work has been overcome, and it is working. So on that side. The second part is that we have a significant part of the energy value chain being resolved. That is the fact that we have additional liters being put into our refining capacity. The third part, which is very significant, but which is on the midterm and the long term, is the opportunities that are going to come out of it. So they are going to employ some vendors who are going to help them with maintenance of some things. That's employment opportunities. Vendors are going to supply food. Vendors are going to do things around that area. So in that community, in the midterm and the long term, that's economic activity for them. So when you look at it from the holistic view, it is progress.
So a couple of things. Now, when you say a couple of liters to be added, a couple of liters of what? Diesel, DPK, but not PMS, is it?
They announced PMS. And it must be understood that the refinery has been set up to be producing PMS for decades.
Yeah, but what we understand is that the new refinery is the one that has the capacity to refine PMS. But this, of course, you must have read about that allegation, is kind of blending that is going on there. Even though Mr. Shegun says, well, there's a level of refining. There was almost saying no distinctive difference between blending and refinery. But I always say, look, there is a distinctive difference, because one is about taking already refined product and then refining further to produce to a certain specification. But if you're going to refine, you get the crude, take it from that process, you break it down and get all of those products. And they
okay, so this is about science now. Mm-hmm. So the refining process takes place through what is called fractional distillation. So fractional distillation is a big word for distillation in fractions, or distillation at different levels. So this is basic chemistry. So what is distillation? Basically, you distill spirits, for example, into water. It dissolves. Now, you have different components that make up crude oil. You have petrol there, you have kerosene there, you have naphtha. So each of them are distillates. But by chemical composition, they have different boiling points. So what they basically do in the refining process is that you boil it in a container. At a certain temperature, kerosene will evaporate. Then you capture it. At a certain temperature, petrol evaporates. You capture it. So basically what is done when you talk about blended or some unfinished product is that they have done the refinery in such a stage that it can only take one or two components based on the temperature configuration, and you still have the other components in the mix which can still be distilled. So basically, once you put the crude oil, you can get the first two components out, which can be diesel and whatever and kerosene, and then the remainder can now be taken to a further place where it is further distilled, and that's the big word that they use called blending and all that. So it's just a case of incomplete combustion.
Okay, but when yesterday the whole place was awash with this event, this occasion, but then the realistic thing is it's not going to go beyond a certain locality in Port Harcourt. And so it will serve at least close proximity to those areas. It won't have as wide reach as perhaps the Dangote refineries, over 28 million, thereabouts. It can reach the entire country and beyond, unless maybe if the new Port Harcourt refinery comes on stream, maybe like what, is it 10 million capacity or something like that? So maybe with that one, you can then have a more extended reach. So yes, with the buzz, but in terms of being realistic, it's a limited coverage.
So there's nothing wrong with small steps. I mean, the Wright brothers who invented the aeroplane, they only flew the plane for less than 50 meters. But it was an epoch-making event because every single flight that humans are able to do is dependent on that single less than 50 meters that took place. So it is the same thing. You have had a jinx being broken. You have had a barrier being broken through. So that is what is significant in terms of the reach, in terms of the achievement, in terms of the many options that are possible. Those are things that will be a result of strategy and planning and further thinking. It is a journey. It is not an event. So the whole industry does not end with what happened yesterday. It is part of a long, long journey. So we just have to celebrate little things and appreciate little things as we go towards the final destination.
I think one of the questions people have been asking really, and it's interesting that we've gotten some of that explanation from Sadakpo earlier, and then also getting that same response from you as well. You know, when we say we want to be able to localize the refining of crude, we don't want to import petrol anymore. We want to refine our crude and have our own PMS. So that's the mindset in the mind of the Nigerian. Is there any reason to believe that that is not happening right now with all of these explanations we're hearing? The boiling process, or what refining really means, what blending is, and all of that. Is there any reason why the Nigerians should be thinking right now that no, we're not there yet, where we're actually refining our crude from our local refineries, from the government-owned refineries that we have, refining crude into PMS? Is that happening, yes or no? I think that is the major question.
I think that is a question that the engineers on site will be the perfect person to answer. However, from the press release that has been issued, they did say that they are producing PMS. So, except there's evidence to the contrary, we have to go with that. I mean, there were journalists who went there. Somebody did say yesterday that she went there, she saw the thing being loaded, she interviewed one of the, and it's a journalist. So there's no reason why we should disbelieve that. There are people who want to believe the worst, which is okay, freedom of speech. But things must, for the purpose of balance and for the purpose of sanity, things must always be kept in perspective. So the people who are working on there, the engineers on site, and those who are loading it say that they are loading PMS. So why should we not believe them?
So let's talk a little bit about the future. I asked this earlier as well. It took so long. We kept hearing deadline after deadline after deadline for this Port Harcourt refinery to be up and running. Based on the statements we've seen and the reports that we have, it is up and running right now. But we do have other refineries. There's Warri, there's Kaduna, there's all of these other things going on. And many people have been asking, with all the staff members, there's turnaround maintenance on these refineries every year that runs into billions. There's also the fact that there are a lot of staff members. These people are going to work. Are they getting paid for not doing anything? What should the NNPC be thinking about? That accountability question when it comes to the other moribund, in quote, refineries that we have in the country.
I think if I remember correctly, the press release that came from the presidency was that the work is already ongoing on the other refineries and they will come on board. It's my understanding that the way engineering has been given that contract and they will do it. So I believe that the same way, and they are also the ones that worked on Port Harcourt, by the way. So I believe that the same way Port Harcourt came on stream, the others too will come on stream.
So we should just be patient just be patient. It will happen.
I think Nigerians also owe it to ourselves to be knowledgeable about the fundamentals so that we are not tossed about with every wind of opinion. I say this because if you take, for example, the power sector, one of the reasons why so many things happen for so long and the issues are there is because if you ask the average Nigerian, they say, do you even really know what the issues are in the power sector? He said, no, I don't care. I just want power. It sounds logical, but it's ignorant. It's ignorant, and when you're ignorant, you are not able to put the critical mass of pressure on the right areas. So we, as Nigerians, need to know the fundamentals. When we know the fundamentals, we won't be bothered about what doesn't matter, and we'll ask questions on the things that matter. The fact that work is going on matters. The fact that some people are saying they are naysayers despite the fact that others are working doesn't matter. Because you will always have distraction if you have ever done any project that is worthwhile. Anybody that's ever, even if you have built a chicken house, there will always be people who will be naysayers. So it's incumbent upon Nigerians to have certain basic knowledge so that they will know the things that matter as against the things that doesn't matter, so that you are not distracting or disturbing those who are working because of those who are spectators.
So part of the things that many also will be really glad if it happens is at least not marginal adjustment, but at least significant adjustment in pricing. Even though NNPC says, look, it's going to be marginal. They don't expect anything. Maybe I should use the word fantastic in terms of the pricing. But by the time all these refineries come on stream, you have BUA probably next year. And I thought that should be significant. You should make them say, look, let's have something more significant in terms of the pricing, and then maybe also address availability of the product.
Okay, so I think part of the problem with wrong expectations is also how the issues are being reported, which partially is also media. Because out of nowhere, for over a year, people believed that Dangote Refinery was going to come on board and was going to reduce prices.
Well, I don't think it's out of nowhere.
No, it is because
before it was even reported, there were several persons who said that they heard it on good authority, that it came from there, that when he comes on stream,
so people say things without verification. Because you don't need to be a mathematician. You really don't even need to be an expert of sorts to have a clear idea of how much refining costs. You can actually Google it. And because crude oil is a global commodity, refining cost is largely the same whether it is local or international. Crude oil cost is largely the same, irrespective. There are differences between those who have sulfur and those who are not, but they're about the same cost. Transportation cost, you can Google it. By the time you just do all those computations,
local or international costs?
Both. Because you can, for those which are going to be imported and all that, so you can have an idea of what the cost is and have an idea of what the cost is locally. The key component, what is affecting the price, is the naira to the dollar. That is the fact. That is what was not taken into account. Now, I'll give an example. In 2005, I went to Stockholm, Sweden. The cost of the ticket was about 190,000 naira. At that time, it was like $1,200. Guess what? Today, it is over 2 million. But do you know what? It is still at that cost of $1,200, thereabouts. So the real difference is not so much as the price has increased, but that the naira to dollar ratio has significantly plummeted. As long as there are differences within that, fluctuations between the naira to dollar ratio, it will ultimately affect the price on the pump.
Well,
the key component to determine the price of the pump is really outside the circle of influence of the industry. What additional refining capacity will do And what multiple source of refining capacity would do is to make sure that the price is cost reflective. Well, in other words, they will give you the exact cost and nobody will really be able to cheat Nigerians.
You know, there are several perspectives to some of these things. Some will say that may not be the ultimate one. It's a huge factor, but not the ultimate, because there are several components to all of those things. Because they also say, look, while you bring it in to the country, all of those debates about landing costs, the insurance to some of those costs where you have to, perhaps when they used to go from mother vessel and then they call it daughter vessel, all of those costs in between there, the insurance cost, the trading of crude, all those components, if you now bring it back home here, so you largely remove all of those. And then the local transportation costs too. So that's why they say there are several components. But yes, the dollar component is huge. And so, but there's nothing out of the ordinary if people think, okay, if we have this product here, there should be some sort of advantage that we have, especially when you have to talk about the byproducts, which we were not talking about when we take the crude out and bring it back in here.
So people can have expectations, but the expectations cannot be founded on nothing. It must be founded on some of that. That's why I said knowledge is very important, some basic knowledge. You see, there's logic and there's knowledge. I'll give an example. Virtually every liquid in the world, this is basic chemistry, once they become solid, they shrink in size, except in the case of water. When water becomes solid, it expands. That's why when you put water in a glass and you put it in the freezer, it breaks the glass. It is actually called the anomalous expansion of water. Now, if you were talking on an average discussion and you say, for somebody who is not familiar with water, and you say, water, once it becomes solid in this case, is going to expand. Somebody who is familiar with every other liquid will say, no, that doesn't make sense. It is not logical. It is not logical, but it is a fact. So when you come to these things that are technical, there are a number of things that may not be logical, but are factual. It is logical to expect that since all these components are in Nigeria, the price should necessarily come down. But the devil is always in the details. When you break down the details, the cost of running the operations, the cost of the product itself, because it must be sustainable, you will find out that that logic will turns its head on the head.
Could you explain the logic behind when late President Yaradua reduced the price of petrol?
I'm not aware of the parameters with which he reduced it, because it is based on available information. It is parameters that are on ground that determines it. So he could have reduced it and it will be a subsidy. It could. There are so many things.
I was going to say that because if you're going to reduce, at that time, it would have meant that they had to increase the subsidy.
Yes, but they didn't.
But in fairness,
no, we don't check it out.
We don't know that.
No, check it out.
So it is only the NNPC and the ministry that will be able to give us the information. The president is not necessarily going to say he's putting subsidy.
Okay, so this is where we are right now. As we're looking at an industry that is struggling really with the removal of fuel subsidy and the impact that all of that is having on the Nigerian people. As we start to round up, really, just talk to us a little bit about what the future should look like. I'm sorry, I do seem very people-centric, and that's because this is a product that's impacting the lives of people. So if we're looking at everything that's going on right now, we're looking at this refinery on board right now, we're looking at the fuel subsidy that has been removed with the Dangote refinery on board and all of that. Just talk to us a little bit about the future and what the Nigerians should be thinking about when they're looking at their pockets and their spending power in the midst of these dynamics.
Okay, I think there's a mix here. There are some part of this that are technical. There's some part of it that is purely economics. So when you talk about the impact on Nigerians, you are talking about inflation, you're talking about its cost on transportation and all that. Those are economic issues. That's for the economists, the Minister of Finance, CBN, and those in that area to make those decisions. We are technical people, we're engineers, we're consultants with respect to energy. So we talk molecules, we talk the processing and all that. However, having said that, there are some kind of input I can say as a Nigerian. Now, when we remove the technical part and put the human face to it, we look at the fact that this commodity is affecting our lives and is having impact in ways that we did not expect. But that is the nature and the essence of such kind of reforms. I think one of the challenges is that Nigerians did not really expect what to do with import. Because when you check China, when you check Britain in the 70s, when you check Brazil in the 80s, these things did have kind of strange impacts on them as well.
All right, we'll have to go. I know people are wondering, say, look, so what I say, if there's no impact whatsoever
what's the big deal?
on all these refineries opening here, keep importing it then. So what's the point?
If the price is the same
Just tell your
or more.
Well, thank you for coming on this morning for the show. Me, pleasure. Well, that is the show today. Thank you all for watching. We'll see you next time. I'm Chamberlain, so goodbye.
Have a great day ahead. I'm Kayla Magwa.
NNPC.